One of the most interesting methods of solving a quadratic equations of this form is the factorization method. And so in this video, I'm actually going to show you guys the simple way to solve a quadratic equation using factorization method, so that at the end of this video you should have understood how to factorize quadratic equation and find out the solutions to any of quadratic equation that is actually factorizable. And of course, it is just very much simple. Just follow through. I'm going to show you how to go about it. So whenever you have a quadratic equation, take for instance, let's solve the first one, that is x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now there are basically three things you need to find out. First is one called product, the second one is the sum, and then you also need a factor. Okay, so what do we mean by product? Now when you look at this equation, we have x squared here, and then we have x to the power 1 here, and then we have another term here that does not contain any variable. So you need to look at the coefficient of x squared here. Whatever value you see, then you need to use it to multiply this term that does not have any variable. So in this case, you can see that the coefficient here is 1, and of course it is still same for other questions up there. So since the coefficient here is 1, so even if you multiply 1 by 1 here, it will still remain 1. So you need to write this term right here, but if the coefficient here is not 1, you use the term that is here to multiply this constant, and whatever thing you have, you write it under product. Okay, so for sum, you write the coefficient of x. In this case, the coefficient of x here is equal to 2, so you write it here. So how do we get the factor? So what you just need to do is you need to find out two numbers that when you multiply them, it is actually going to give you 1. And that is the essence of this product. So the product of those two terms has to be equal to 1, and then the sum of those two terms will be equal to 2. And you can see it is just very much simple that in this question, those two terms will be positive 1 and also positive 1. Okay, so when you multiply positive 1 by positive 1, it actually gives you 1, and then when you sum both of them, so we have 1 plus 1, it's also going to be equal to 2. So once you've gotten the factors right there, what you just need to do is to come back to this question over here, and then in place of these 2x here, you are actually going to write the sum of the two terms you've gotten. So if I write the equation right here, so this is actually going to be x squared plus, so in place of these 2x, I'm actually going to multiply each of the terms by x. Okay, 1 times x will be equal to x plus the remaining 1, which is also 1 times x, equal to x, then plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, so now that you've done this, you can go ahead to factorize. Look at the first two terms, what is common between them, and of course you can see that x is common here, so you put x out. If you factorize x from x squared, x will remain, and then you factorize x from x, 1 will remain, and then plus, if you look at the last two terms here, x and 1 is common, so you factorize 1 out, and then you have exactly this. Okay, so this is what you have, and then at this point you can just go ahead to pick this and this. So x plus 1 here, okay, and then you pick one of the brackets, x plus 1, this is equal to 0. So you can see that what we've got here is a product of two terms, which is giving us is equal to 0. And basically you are going to apply the zero product rule, which tells us that this implies that is that either the first term here, x plus 1, is equal to 0, or the second term, x plus 1, is equal to 0. But of course, in any of the cases, you can see that x is equal to -1, and of course this is for -1, so you just put -1 twice. So this is how you solve this. But then let me use the second question here to actually show you guys a simple way you can actually get these roots immediately after you've gotten the factors. So the second question is x squared plus 5x minus 14 is equal to 0. Okay, so this is what we have at this point, and just like I explained, you need to use the coefficient of x squared here, which is of course is still equal to 1, and multiply this constant. So 1 times minus 4 is still minus 4. So you can even itemize the items you need. So you need the product, the sum, and also the factors. Okay, so for product, what we need right here is minus 14, and then for sum you need positive 5. Okay, and then for factors you need two terms that when you multiply them it will give you negative 14, and then when you sum them it will be equal to 5. Okay, and of course you can see that minus 2 and then positive 7 will do the job, because 7 times negative 2 will be equal to negative 14, and then positive 7 plus negative 2 will be equal to 5. So now that you've gotten these factors, instead of going through this method right here and then you replace this term here 5x with the sum of the two factors and then you begin to factorize, what you can just quickly do is you write x minus the first term. Okay, so just basically x plus the first term, put it in brackets, and then x plus the second term. Okay, and it's equal to 0. And of course this is actually going to be the result of the simplifications you are going to be doing if you replace this 5x with the sum of the two factors. And at this point you can just go ahead to apply the zero product rule. Okay, and basically this implies that x minus 2 is equal to 0, or x plus 7 is equal to 0. And of course for this case x will be equal to positive 2, or x will be equal to negative 7. So this will form the solution to this question, x equal to 2 and x equal to negative 7. And then I'm going to solve the third one, and I will leave you guys to solve number 4. So you find out the product, you get the sum and get the factors. So for the product you need two terms that when you multiply them it will be equal to 5, and then for the sum you need two terms that when you sum them it will be equal to, in this case you can see is minus 6. So the two factors that will do the work is minus 5 and then minus 1. When you multiply minus 5 and minus 1 it will be equal to 5, and then when you sum them it will be equal to minus 6. So moving directly to the solution, I'm actually going to just say x minus 1 and then multiply by x minus 5 is equal to 0. So if you simplify further here, this implies that x minus 1 is equal to 0, or x minus 5 is equal to 0, which of course implies that x is equal to 1 or x is equal to 5. So this is the simple way to solve a quadratic equation using factorization method. Don't forget that the three things you actually need to solve it efficiently is the product, the sum, and also the factors. So once you're able to find out these three terms, solving it becomes very much easy for you. Let me know if you've understood the video. In my subsequent videos I'm actually going to be explaining also the remaining methods of solving a quadratic equation, where you'll be expected to use substitution method, completing the square method, and also some other method of like the graphical method. So you don't want to miss out. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video, share it with your friends, and I'm going to see you guys in my next video. Bye.